Good day to you. Willard Shepard here on Miami Community News and on In the Know. And we always want to bring you the very latest in our legal community that has an impact on our general public. And today we're honored to have the candidate for Miami-Dade Circuit Court Judge Monica Segura Esq.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us. We met at the Florida bar.
We
and
did.
Look, we can both go. We'll go.
Yes.
Go Canes. Go Canes.
Absolutely.
You are a
Absolutely.
double cane from right here in South Florida.
Yes, yes.
And first of all, before we get into your background, I admire public service, obviously my military background, and I think all of us should serve.
Absolutely.
What makes you want to go do this?
Yes. First, I want to thank you so much for having me on your show. Thank the audience. And thank you for this opportunity. What made me want to serve? So my father, who passed away 8 years ago, was a lieutenant in the city of Miami, and he always instilled in us the value of service and giving back. And it's my call to give back. So I think that's the right time. It's an open seat, Group 5. So I just jumped in, and this is why we're here today.
Okay, tell me what drew you to the law. First of all, you're a journalist by training.
Yes.
We like those.
Yes, we do. We do like those. So I studied broadcast journalism at undergrad at Double Hurricane, and I was on TV. And what led me to the law? So my father was a police officer, as I mentioned, and I always saw the shows Law and Order and things of that nature. But he didn't want us to be police officers, and a lot of respect for police officers. He thought it was too dangerous for us.
My son's a police officer.
Yes. So thank you for his service. So I thought, what's the next thing that I could do to be like my father? Become a lawyer. So that's what led me to become a lawyer. I have an identical twin sister and a younger sister, and my twin sister is also a lawyer. You met her at the Florida bar. So I've always loved school, so I said, why not? Let's continue. So that led me to become a lawyer. Really, the fact that my father was a police officer, giving back, and also, I love the law. And I think that using the law to help others and to be involved in the community, it's a great thing. So that's why we're here today.
You had a list of leadership positions when you were at the University of Miami and obtaining your law degree. So tell me how those kinds of leadership positions prepared you believe, for what you're seeking now.
Absolutely. So I was student bar president. I was also involved with the Hispanic Law Students Association, also with Society of Bar and Gavel. And we did take it, it was our mission to give back, to participate in community projects. And I worked with many different people of many different walks of life. And I think those organizations and my draw to giving back, also my leadership positions as a lawyer, have prepared me for this role. That was in undergrad. Then in undergrad, I also served leadership positions as well in law school. Then once I became a lawyer, I was very, very interested in giving back. So I worked very closely with the Cuban Bar Association, the Florida Association for Women Lawyers, and we did a lot of drives. We did a lot of events. I remember painting the courthouse, the children's courthouse, in one of our fall events. That's the Florida Association for Women Lawyers, Miami-Dade chapter. So all those experiences have culminated in this opportunity. And I really do call it an opportunity to give back to the community that has been so good to me and my family.
What's the number one thing for the general public that you think is important that's done from the bench? And what would you like to make sure that you do in terms of accomplishing that mission?
Thank you. So I think being a judge is a calling. I think respecting the law and following the Constitution, I think it's the best thing that we could do for our constituents and our citizens of Miami-Dade County. So that is something that I would like to continue if given the opportunity and elected on August 18th as the next circuit court judge. So I think being a member of the community, respecting the law, following the law, I think that's the calling that I seek to serve.
Big transition in the law. You and I were at our new courthouse the other day, which is amazing.
Amazing.
And I'm a big person in terms of technology and going into our legal technology. What do you think are the biggest things that have transitioned our legal community and from the bench being able to use technology to serve our residents?
Absolutely. I think, when COVID hit and we had to pivot to Zoom hearings and doing less things in person. I think being in person does create an atmosphere for both the litigants and also the lawyers involved. But you can't discount the technology, the use of Zoom hearings that accommodates people that are, for example, if you have an expert in Minnesota, instead of flying him down, you could have them appear, provided that the court allows it, and follow the proper court procedure, appear via Zoom. And that could save money for both the defendant and the plaintiff. So I think the use of technology, the courtrooms are, beautiful, equipped with all kinds of technology. It's really coming to age. And I think it's a wonderful tool that litigants and also the constituents could use.
The project I've been involved with our public defender,
yes.
Here in Miami-Dade County, being able to do depositions along with the state attorney much faster.
Correct.
And instead of taking a couple of weeks, have an instantaneous deposition to try to expedite these types of things. I see that as people being able to participate more often in our justice process.
Absolutely.
Because they don't have to drive to the courthouse. They can take a 30-minute break in their car in the break room. Is this just a tip of the iceberg, you think, from how this technology is being used now versus what we will see even in just a couple of years?
Absolutely. I think as the times evolve, we have to get on that bandwagon per se and make sure that we're keeping up with the times, as long as the technology is safeguarded and we prevent hacking and things like that. But I think that's a wonderful tool. And you mentioned, we live in a very fast pace, right? All of us have families or other obligations. So having to set aside time instead of the 30-minute deposition or the Zoom hearing or technology like that, I 100% agree with you. I think it provides more access to justice per se.
I think it's expanded the ability for all people to participate. Sometimes so many people will get a summons, but they can't walk away from their job as
Right.
a waiter or a waitress as a service job. And something I think that you always want to battle is to make sure that money should not be what it takes to always have justice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the participation in the jury system, I think that's paramount to our Constitution. I think that's paramount to access to justice. So I think if we make that easier, I think it would be fair and equitable to all citizens. So I agree with you. I think technology is moving in such a pace that we have to get used to that. Just make sure that the safeguards are there. But a telephonic deposition, a Zoom hearing, the technology that you bring up, I think it's great. I think it will help us advance 100%.
Tell me what your thoughts are. We're in such a divided land that I always say people here in our community, meaning our local elected officials, including what you're seeking doing, our local judges, the responsibility you have is much greater now because most people don't believe in anything that will happen or come from Washington, D.C.
Right. Right. So I think it's important to focus on the people, right? And not let politics divide us. I think we're one community. And as long as we focus on that and respecting the Constitution, we're celebrating our 250th anniversary. I think that's great. I think that everyone in this country should be in celebration of that. So I think if we focus on what brings us together and instead of our differences, our similarities, I think we could make this world a better place. As cliche as it sounds, I think we have that responsibility. And as a judge, I think, you follow the Constitution. You make sure that people have access to justice, to the courtrooms. I think that's paramount and very important.
Tell me, if you're successful with this, 3 of the top things that you want to make sure that you're not only prepared to do, but want to execute from the bench in terms of serving the residents of Miami-Dade County and areas. We've talked about the technology, but
Right.
some other things that will bring more people into this process.
Right. And that's a great question. I would be honored if elected on August 18th. And what I could promise as an individual is I'm a fair candidate. I think I bring the qualities that are necessary and the experience. I have over 20 years of experience, and I also serve as a magistrate for the town of Miami Lakes. I think that coupled with my integrity and my dedication to public service, that is what I will bring. I think the judiciary is a wonderful system. We have wonderful judges that I respect so much. And I don't propose to change something. I propose to work with the people and work with the system to show that all of us have access to justice.
One of the areas, and just for our audience, just so you know, she doesn't know that
I don't.
but
No.
talked about some of these specific things.
Right.
Obviously, from my aviation background and military flying, and being a what we call a Part 107 FAA pilot, which is unmanned, and I always say unwomaned aerial systems, drone pilots, and from your father being a police officer. Tell me where you think, when we've talked about technology, something that you could end up before the bench and is fascinated for me and impacting our community,
Right.
the use of drones
Right.
by our police departments, whether or not those devices are invasive. Is it an illegal search and seizure? How those types of things, when we talk about technology and
Right.
the merging of the law,
Right,
that
right.
could come before you. And because of your dad being a police officer,
Right,
I just
right.
wonder what your thoughts are in that area.
So that's an interesting question. So I'm gonna be a lawyer about it in this aspect. I guess it depends. That'll be my response, my safe response. I think all our police department, and I was endorsed by the FOP, and I take great pride in that, and it's a great honor to my father's legacy. All of us do our jobs as best we could. What do I mean by that? I think, whether or not something invades privacy, whether or not use of technology, I think you have to determine that on a case-by-case basis. So my answer, to protect the cannons and whatnot, it depends. It depends on the situation. So I think, we have to have certain safeguards for technology. Absolutely. What those are, I'm going to let people higher than me decide. But I think the use of technology is a great tool as long as we have the proper safeguards.
It does really, and this is happening as we're having this conversation. It's obviously possible this is happening out on the streets of South Florida as we speak. These technologies of robotics and drones are of great use to our law enforcement community because they protect our deputies and protect our officers from being engaged in dangerous situations.
Absolutely.
And they also provide great surveillance techniques. The question is, how far can those surveillance techniques, go?
Right.
I have this example that I use in this scenario of a 12-foot fence where an officer can't see over the fence, but the drone can.
Right.
And if you have someone that's growing marijuana plants or a legal drug on the other side of the fence and the drone can see it, is that considered in plain view where an officer
Right. I guess
doesn't need a warrant
right.
to actually go once it's in plain view there.
Right.
And these are fascinating kinds of concepts
Scenarios,
that I
right.
think you'll be, faced with, and a way technology is injecting so much in our law today.
Absolutely. And I think it's fascinating. I think that's an area that has to be developed. So we'll see. And I guess it depends on case-by-case basis. But that's an interesting example for sure.
Our conversation with that is going to continue down the road.
Continue. Exactly.
Tell me what you learned in Miami Lakes
Yes.
as that experience and how you think that can apply to what you'd like to do going forward.
Thank you. I was honored to serve as magistrate for about 4 years. The cases that came before me, so it was a quasi-judicial position. It basically dealt with violations of the town code. So every month we had hearings, and I presided over those hearings. The town attorney presented them, and then the respondent had to respond. And what I learned is that access to justice is paramount, but kindness goes a long way. What do I mean by that is you treat everyone with respect. Everyone, not in the almost 4 years that I attended was there ever a disagreement? Everything was properly noticed. It runs smoothly because everyone was honored in such a way that everyone was treated with respect. But there were hundreds of cases that I heard. How I propose to translate that skill to, if elected and honored with a vote on August 18th is, as a judge, you have to handle volume litigation, and that translates, and handle the courtroom with decorum. Make sure that everyone's respected, that things are noticed on time, and the notice requirement is very important. So those are the skills that I think translate and put me uniquely positioned to hold office on August 18th and then, serve the citizens of Miami-Dade County.
Okay.
Yep.
As to your basic missions that we've talked about, I want you to elaborate some in Spanish for us.
Okay. Sure.
Just so that, all of our Spanish community that we love here
Of
all
course.
across South Florida has an opportunity to hear from you.
Ok, perfect. Mi nombre es Mónica Segura, soy candidata para jueza agosto 18. Yo espero tener la posibilidad de representarlos todos si soy elegida como jueza. Soy una persona que nací en Miami-Dade County, soy de padre cubano. Fui a la Universidad de Miami para bachillerato y también para estudiar, para ser abogada. Yo creo que mi personalidad combinado con mi dedicación al público me pone en una posición que puedo contribuir y ser una excelente jueza si me dan la oportunidad y me eligen en agosto 18. So, muchas gracias por el señor Mr. Shepard por tenerme hoy en su programa y también muchas gracias por estar en sintonía hoy.
Okay, perfecto.
Thank you.
Now, final thing for you.
Of course.
What have you learned about in this process? And I had a conversation with you out in the front here
Yes.
before we started about people asking me and trying to get me to run for public
Yes,
office.
yes,
And I was
yes.
like, the fundraising and all these other things, I think, overweigh the actual good that you want to try to do. What have you learned about this process, going through it now and actually experiencing this and the challenges of it in that area?
So I've learned amazing things. I think meeting you, I've always been a big fan of you. That is a unique position that had I not been running, I wouldn't have met you. But I think the kindness of people, the kindness of strangers. I've met many people in the community that want to learn more and why being a judge and electing a judge is important. I think dealing with people on a day-to-day basis, I think that sets me apart in my experiences. But the one thing that I've learned from going to this process, because I've never been an elected official, is there's so many good people in this world and so many people that will show up, so many people that care about this country. That has been a fascinating process. And just meeting people, getting to know people. It's a countywide election, so it makes it difficult to, let's say, knock on every single door. But just the people that I've had the opportunity of meeting, going to senior homes, senior centers, visiting events, I think it's fantastic. It's a great experience. And I have a young son who's 10, and I tell him, you have to put yourself out there and be brave. So I am very hopeful that I get elected on August 18th. And I think the process is just be there and just put your best foot forward and be brave. That's really the process. And there's so many wonderful, great people in this world. And I'm so thankful. And I would be remiss if I don't thank every single family member, friend that has helped me and has come together. Because running for judge, we have certain limitations that we have to abide by the judicial canon. So you do need a group of lawyers to get the message out and help. And I've been very fortunate with the help and the assistance and the friendship that has been offered and given to me. So I'm so grateful.
Where do people find you?
You could find me in www.votemonicasegura.com. You can learn all about me. Things will be posted there, and I hope to see you at events, and you could always come say hi to me. I will disclaim that I have an identical twin sister. She's also very friendly, so if you see someone that looks like me and doesn't react immediately, she'll say hi, but she's a different person. So they could find me on my website. I also have an Instagram account, Vote Monica Segura, and you could follow me there.
I was going to jokingly say to you that you're the only candidate that can be in two places at once.
Right.
There you go.
Right.
All right. But today we are with the genuine, real Monica Segura, Esquire.
Thank you.
Thank you for sitting down with us here at Miami Community News.
Thank you
We
so much.
always want to take this platform that the Grant brothers have given our community to make sure that people can actually hear about our candidates,
Absolutely.
learn something that's not in a 15 or 20-second soundbite, and always be educated when you go to vote. Be educated to vote in these judicial elections and across the board, and keep joining us here on In the Know on Miami Community News.